Okay, so hi. Today I'm doing the interviews. It's kind of a switch up, and we are almost done with this series. And our last episode today is going to be on Laura Broxson from the National Animal Rights Association,
Hi.
who is the founder of NARA, and she is also my partner in crime and in life. So thanks for being here, Laura.
Of course, it feels strange being the interviewee now instead of the interviewer.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about burnouts because how long have you been an activist now?
I've been an activist for 17 years.
Yeah, that's a really long time, and I knowing you, you just keep going. Like there's been no breaks in that 17 years. You've literally been an activist for 17 years. And what I also wanted to ask you is questions about how to start up your own group because I find that is going to be very helpful for new activists watching or even activists who have different ways, different tactics, and they want to start up their own thing. So, well, how did you go vegan, and why did you go vegan, and when did you go vegan?
Okay, so I went vegetarian first when I was 12, and it was just because of my love for animals. My parents had a big animal sanctuary, and it just didn't make sense for me anymore to be loving the animals we cared for so much and then coming in and eating another animal. So for me, when I was 12, I connected the dots, went vegetarian. My parents went vegetarian with me. And then a year later, it was actually my mom had read a book which talked about veganism. And so she was the one to suggest going vegan, and we talked about it. It seemed like the right thing to do. So we went vegan without really knowing any other vegans or knowing particularly much about animal rights. It just made sense for us, and we did it together then as a family. And then by the time I was 14, I kind of felt being vegan wasn't enough, and that to make a difference, you have to get out there and get active. So that's what started my journey into activism anyway.
Very good. Do you remember your first protest?
Yeah, it was at the Spire with the kind of PETA group at the time. It was a protest about circuses, and it was just kind of flyers and things like that. So that was my first ever protest, and then my second ever protest was actually outside a circus, and the majority of the activists there were attacked. And
Oh my God.
that was like my second ever protest, and then it resulted in a court case and me having as a 14-year-old having to go in to Garda stations and give statements and things like that. So it was a very jolting introduction to activism, definitely.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking. So with that, when did you start up NARA, and what made you start up NARA? Were you a part of any other groups before that?
Yeah, I got involved in a lot of local and international groups in Ireland. And by the time I was about 15, 16, I was already running anti-fur campaigns. Dublin used to be full of boutiques selling fur, and one by one with campaigning, we got them to adopt fur-free policies. So I kind of started off primarily campaigning against fur, and then I, over time, just kind of felt that other groups I was involved with didn't exactly align with my ethical concepts or tactical concepts, and that's what began NARA in 2007.
Wow. Okay. So how many years ago is that? Because I'm really bad with math. Is that 13 or 14?
13 years ago.
13 years ago. Wow. Okay. So NARA's been running for 13 years. And was it easy starting up NARA?
It was and it wasn't. I mean, most of when I started NARA, I paid for probably the majority of the materials myself, made all the materials myself. There was only a handful of us at the time, but I felt that it was the best way for me to be the best I could be, and having a little bit more say over what I did campaign wise and mission statements and things like that. So it was a little bit tough at the beginning, and I remember one of the first campaigns we had was to ban fur farming. And there was times I was outside the Department of Agriculture by myself. And that was
Wow.
And when you're still a teenager as well, that can be a little bit kind of, I guess, embarrassing or upsetting, whatever. But I remember thinking that, well, I don't care if it's me by myself. I know it's the right thing to do, and you know, the world will catch up. So it didn't put me off, but it was tough at the time.
Yeah, and so what was the first thing you did? Was it picking out a name? Did you set up a website for NARA in 2007, or what were the steps to making a group?
Well, it took me about a day or two to think of the name, because so far I had been primarily Dublin based with campaigns. So I wanted something that kind of had a bit of a catchy name, but also represented a nationwide effort for animal rights. Yeah. So I came up with the National Animal Rights Association, and then I bought the domain name. I set up MySpace, if you can remember MySpace, and Bebo and all that, and then later on did the Facebook. So it was a slow, gradual step in terms of social media. But the main thing was at the beginning was just putting up the website, making sure I had as much facts on each different issue as possible, getting leaflets printed, and just getting ourselves out there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is small and helpful, and I don't think a lot of people think about it, is our NARA cards actually spread the word that we're an organization as well. Whenever we have stalls, or whenever you're talking to a politician, you just giving them that card, I think, makes it, you know, really official.
Yeah, and I find that business cards are easy to carry around. Not all situations will you be able to carry around placards or leaflets or fact sheets with you, but you can always shove a handful of business cards in your pocket, and they are handy for networking, and you know, just, you know, an email address, website, maybe a social media link. It just makes people more inclined to keep the business card and check you out, even if they don't have time to there and then.
Yeah. And what about NARA's first protest, like, or your first time organizing a protest for new vegans or people who want to start protesting now? What is the first steps that they should take in order to organize one and it be successful and safe?
Well, the first thing to do would be do your research and pick your target. So say if you want to protest a fur shop, for example, make sure you know that they're going to be open and there on the day you pick to protest them. Make sure that you have a leaflet prepared, some posters prepared. They don't have to be really detailed, and they don't necessarily have to be professionally printed either. But just make your points clear, and make sure anything you put on the leaflet or the posters is factual and correct. And then, you know, just start spreading the word. If you don't know any vegans yet, bring family and friends along as a bit of moral support to give you a hand, and reach out to local veggie vegan groups if you have any in your area, and just start small. Don't put too many expectations on yourself. Like, don't set out to close down the fur shop that day. Give yourself some time to build up the campaign, build up momentum, and then you'll be in the right circumstances then to be able to maybe have meetings, get them to adopt fur-free policies, or if not, then yeah, let's shut them down.
That sounds good. And I think as activists as well, you are kind of doing something political. So we have had times where, like, guards show up at our protests just to see what we're doing. And would you advise new activists to be prepared for that and know their rights? And what are some of the ways that they can learn this information as well?
Absolutely. Like, I guess I had to sort of learn the hard way with protests, without really fully knowing all my legal rights and public order acts and things like that. I had to just learn from experience how to deal with guards, but it's definitely worth going over the Public Order Act and reading up on what you are and aren't entitled to if a guard approaches you at a protest. And what we have a set of links and guides that we can send people. So if anyone wants them, email us info@naracampaigns.org. And they're just little fact sheets on how to deal with guards and to make sure that you stay safe. But I would say when dealing with a guard, the most important thing is stay calm and realize that most of them don't know the ins and outs of the laws and what they can and can't do. So if you stay calm, make sure you maintain eye contact, don't show any weakness or fear or anything like that. You know, be strong, be firm, but be civil. A lot of them will back down. Like, I've been threatened with arrest dozens of times, and I can always talk myself out of it because I know what I can and can't do, and most guards don't.
Yeah, they smell fear.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of like setting up your own groups and starting your own protests. And how did you manage to keep this going for so long? Have you ever felt like giving up or felt disheartened and just want to stop it because nothing's going right?
Well, I mean, nothing would make me stop or give up, but in terms of feeling disheartened, like, I want the world to go vegan yesterday. To me, no change happens quick enough, and I find that really frustrating to deal with. And, you know, if I watch any new undercover documentaries or even see something very graphic about new campaigns, you know, I find that hard to have to kind of deal with and look at and think about. But I try and use my upset and my rage into action. So for me, you know, stopping is not an option for me, and I've just learned over the years to incorporate activism in all its forms into sort of my daily life. So for me, activism is a part of who I am, and it's routine for me at this stage to be thinking about it like all day, every day. So, you know, I may not be protesting every day, but I'm answering emails or posting on social media or, you know, having discussions with politicians, that kind of thing. And for me, even though I don't see the results as quick as I want them to, I can see positive changes made every year. And I need to be a part of making that happen in the hopes that it will move along quicker. So being an activist, it does take its emotional toll. And you do have to sometimes just switch off in your mind and not think about these things to be able to cope and move forward. But I find that, you know, when you have a supportive partner and parents and family like I do, it's easy to stay strong, vent when you're not feeling strong, and be able to cope and move on. But I definitely think support system is essential. And if you don't have that within your family or friend circle, you will definitely get it in the vegan community. So if you're a new activist, you're having a hard time, reach out, because we all know exactly how you feel, and we're going to have ways to help you deal with it.
Yeah, wow, that's said really perfectly. So maybe in a quick sentence, what would you tell an activist to stop them from burning out? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I just say that, like, for burnout, I think it tends to happen when an activist is getting overwhelmed or burdening themselves with too many things. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with being, say, maybe the sole organizer of protests, take a step back and voice this to your comrades and get someone else to take over for a while. If you need to take a break, that's okay. I also think burnout can happen because activists don't express it in their community, and they just keep going until they just can't take it anymore. So express it. Don't be overwhelmed. You know, even though as activists we feel the burden of the world's wrongs, none of it is our fault. So just keep that in mind. And even if it means, you know, doing something once a week or once a month until you feel able to get back to where you were, that's okay. But just voice the concerns and get support from your community, because it is there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And with your activism, how has it changed over the years?
I suppose in terms of technology, hugely. And I've gone from like using Bebo and MySpace to, you know, we have our Facebook page, our Instagram, Twitter, and we have better cameras, and we use GoPros, spy cams. We've learned how to protect ourselves a little bit better that way. So although we are still 100% DIY and grassroots, I feel every year I learn how to be a little bit more effective and a little bit more prepared in terms of how to keep us safe.
Yeah, I think especially in our group, because we do sometimes take on some really difficult campaigns, one of the things that we found very beneficial to us is recording each protest we do, just to keep us safe from not only violence, but also being slandered by the industries we're trying to take down. Sometimes the opposing side will like to come out and say we've done X, Y, and Z, and we can show them. Actually, no, look, we have it recorded. We didn't do any of that. So that's been really helpful to have. I think we're living in an age where everything can be recorded and uploaded right away. And it's been helpful for us, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of situations where without recordings, we would have no evidence of anything one way or the other. So it's definitely been a huge help. And for anyone starting up, get a GoPro, you know, or get a camcorder, get something so you have protection for yourself.
Yeah, and I also think with the technology we have, raising funds couldn't have been easier, right?
Yeah.
Like, how does NARA pay for the materials that we have?
Well, at the moment, you know, we're stuck on lockdown, so we're not spending a lot, but our fabulous patrons are still donating so that when we're able to get back out on the streets, we will have enough money to keep us going with leaflets and things, but we rely completely on donations. We're a 100% voluntary group. We publish our accounts every year. I have every receipt NARA has ever gotten since 2007. And I think it's important for any new group to also, you know, be accountable for the funds that you get in and what you use them on to make sure that you're fully transparent. But we rely solely on donations, and, you know, we have fabulous patrons who keep us going. And it is a huge help. I mean, the fur campaign cost, we estimated that what, €5,000-6,000 for the whole campaign. So, you know, every cent really does make a huge difference. And we also do donate a lot ourselves, and any petrol that we use for our campaign tours, it doesn't come out of donations. All of us split that between us. So we are very careful what we use and make sure that we use it on the right thing.
Yeah, very good. And so I guess that would actually be something when someone is setting up a new group, is to probably set up an account and for transparency, and also so that they can get the funds that they need for the materials, because it can be a bit pricey paying out of pocket.
Yeah, definitely. Set up a bank account. It's a club or a society account. That way you have a couple of people as co-signatories. It means you need 2 people to take out any funds. And then the bank obviously gives you statements all the time, and you can keep a record of what comes in and comes out. And, you know, I don't know if many people actually look at our accounts and expenditure lists and things like that, but I feel better having them and having them online so that if anyone wanted to, it's all there.
Yeah, that is really good. And following from the question I asked with how has your activism changed, not just technology-wise, but also with other causes, I noticed that NARA over the years have been getting involved in more human rights issues.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as an organization, we were always consistently anti-oppression, but we've gotten more involved in human rights campaigns over the years, particularly the repeal campaign. We organize weekly Vegans for Choice events, and we support any events that are about freeing Palestine, for example, or anti-racism events, anti-war. You know, I think it's very important to make that overlap happen. And, you know, for us, anything that we do in terms of human rights campaigns and other political activism, it's because it's the right thing to do. We're not expecting the other groups to then turn around and support us. I mean, it just so happens that some of them actually do. And, you know, other groups that we're involved with are now starting to ask questions about vegetarianism, veganism, and getting involved in being concerned about animal rights issues. But it's important when you're showing solidarity to make sure that it is for the right reason. So that's not for a pat on the back for us. It's not for us to show off, that we're there because we recognize another campaign that is worthy of support and time and effort. And for us, we're just delighted to be a part of these things in any way we can.
Yeah, very good. And I'm actually really happy that this group is doing things like that, because I feel represented in NARA in a way because I am a person of color. So I wouldn't be able to be in any other group that wouldn't make a stand and say we stand against racism.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important that in any group you join, that you feel that it's a safe space and that everyone's voice is equal. And that's extremely important. So, you know, we are a non-hierarchical organization. Every opinion counts, and it has always been that way and always will be that way.
Yeah, and I think also when I'm thinking about it, new vegans and people who are wanting to start up their own group can take a bit from this with putting out a mission statement like what NARA has, that we don't tolerate any of these people in our group, so that it is a safe place for other people, for minorities to join your group.
Yeah, definitely. Setting up a mission statement from the beginning is very important, because it lays down the groundwork for who you are as a group. And it makes people more inclined to approach you about things if they already know where you stand on these issues. So, you know, if anyone wants to check out the NARA website, it's naracampaigns.org. If you see anything you like on the website, whether it's information, whether it's parts of our mission statement or whatever, use it. Everything we have has always been available for those to share. So education and knowledge is key, and it's power. So if anyone wants to check out our website and you're thinking of starting your own group, take anything you want.
Well, that's great. And what's the current campaign that NARA is working on at the moment?
Our main campaign at the moment is the campaign to ban hair coursing. So already we've gotten support from a number of TDs, primarily Paul Murphy of RISE, who is proposing a bill to ban hair coursing in Ireland, and we're hoping that it will get through first stage by the end of the summer. So that's looking really promising. And for us, you know, as soon as we can get back out in the streets, we're going to be starting campaign tours again. Obviously, socially distanced, we're going to have masks, hand sanitizer, gloves for everyone to have. But we need to get back out there. We're doing ad campaigns about it at the moment as well. It's really important, especially following from the ban on fur farming, that we keep things going in terms of legislation. So we need this ban on hair coursing this year. And then I'd also view this as our window into banning fox hunting. So that's going to be next.
Yeah, okay, cool. And what would you say to someone who's vegan and someone who wants to start activism but isn't quite ready to make the big commitment to protesting all the time? What are other ways that they can get involved and be a big help?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. Like, you know, protests aren't the be all and end all of activism. What can be really helpful is writing a letter to your local TD or your local county council. It can be sharing information on your own social media pages amongst friends and family. It can be writing a letter into a newspaper. It can be sending some texts into a radio station if there's a debate being had about these issues. You can take all of these steps, and with activism, everything works in getting to the end goal. I don't see one form as activism as better or worse than the other. They're all integral parts in making change happen. So start where you're comfortable with, and then pretty soon you're going to find yourself interested in attending a protest maybe, or doing a leaflet drop. But start small, start in your comfort zone and take it from there. And if you have any questions, ask your local group. I mean, you know, activists and vegans are very approachable, they're very friendly, and you know, if you have any questions or concerns, just voice it. And you know, in NARA, when anyone new comes to a protest, we really try our best to make them feel welcome, equal, and part of the team from day one, so that no one feels that kind of shyness or intimidation that I know I felt when I went to my workers' protest.
Yeah.
So start small and keep at it.
Very good. And is there anything else you'd like to share?
Just, check out our website. If anyone has any questions about anything, give us a shout. If anyone wants to get active in their own area, let us know, because we can send you leaflets, we can send you PDFs of poster designs. So any questions or queries, let us know, and hopefully we'll see you on the campaign's trail soon.
Very good. Thanks, Laura.
See you. Bye.
Bye.